Next on Between the Lines, it's our pleasure to spend some time with local author and Nouveau columnist Rita Kohn. Among her many books in the library's collection is a new one that explores the growth of handcrafted beer in Indiana. It's called True Brew, a guide to craft beer in Indiana. And Rita, as always, it's great to have you on the program. Tell us about True Brew and how this book came about.
Well, it was the 75th anniversary of the repeal of Prohibition in 2008. It seemed to be an opportune time to run around the state, stop at all of the brew pubs and breweries extant between March 2008 and March 2009, visit with home brewers, and gain an understanding of who's brewing, what's brewing.
Yes, and your travels took you to all corners of the state. About how many microbreweries do we have in Indiana?
There are right now about 36, going on to 40, because there are a handful in process. And this is the exciting part of it, that we knew that as soon as the book came out, it would be outdated. It's like baseball. As soon as someone breaks a long-held, sacred record, boop, someone comes along with an ability to break it. So the book, however, is about the people who brew. And it is, I think, about the only book around that emphasizes the brewer instead of the place or the brew itself. So it's a people book.
Wow. Now, in addition to the love of creating beer with these people that you interviewed, what other kinds of commonalities did you find? Any common themes in their quest to achieve their goals?
There is an amazing ability between brewers to help each other. Yes, there's a little bit of the competition that my brew might be better than your brew. But if my brew is better than your brew, and you ask me, wow, this is a really good brew, what did you do? I'll tell you. And then you won't make the brew exactly the way I made it. You will make your brew, and then I'll drink your brew, and I'll say, wow, that's really good. What did you do? And so the whole idea that people are so compatible and so sharing is most unusual. This is what we found. Yes, there's the passion, but there's also the sense of community and commonality. Another thing I found was this tremendous interest to rejuvenate an old building or an old neighborhood. A lot of the locations are buildings that had a life in another sphere of business, and all of a sudden it's brought back. It's not demolished, and there's a tremendous interest in rejuvenating a neighborhood.
That's fantastic. Now, in terms of, you mentioned we have upwards of 40 microbreweries now in Indiana. How does that compare with the rest of this region of the country or elsewhere?
We are playing catch-up. But this is what's so wonderful about Indiana. Once we get started, we go.
We're on our way.
We're on our way. And, it's the exciting Hoosier mentality that I just adore.
Now, with the alcohol laws in Indiana as they are, Sunday sales are allowed at the microbreweries. Has this been one of their great selling points or advantages?
The Sunday sale from the place from which beer is brewed is a tremendous call for cultural tourism we were quite behind all of our neighbor states. We have had the wine trail for upwards to a quarter of a century. We're just catching up with that with beer, but each corner of the state, interestingly, has a nice cluster, and one can bike between communities, one can drive between communities, and one can have wonderful local connections with the beer, yes, but part of it too, the cultural, the other cultural aspects. And of course, libraries, visiting libraries while you're also visiting brew pubs and seeing,
good combination.
Seeing the architecture, beer and books. Wow. You know,
All
we don't just
baseball.
write them, we read them. Well, now that you've mentioned that, Bill Friday, who is considered the patron saint of homebrewers in Indiana, was, as a career, reference librarian at West Lafayette Public Library. And the book is dedicated to Bill, and also dedicated to John Hill, who took that plunge and opened our first brew pub in 1990 in Indiana. And the Michael Jackson, the beer guy, not our Michael Jackson, but the British-born Michael Jackson, who brought beer into the cognizance of books by writing all of these wonderful books about the making of beer and the locations of beer worldwide.
Well, it's a fascinating topic that I'm sure a lot of aficionados will want to read about. It's called True Brew, a guide to craft beer in Indiana. It's Rita Kohn's latest, available at the Indianapolis-Marion County Public Library. Check it out by going online at imcpl.org. And Rita, as always, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for being here.